On the line with me, I'm very pleased to have the Advocacy and Policy Counsel to the ACLU, Chad Marlow, where his focus is on privacy and technology. The website is aclu.org, and his personal Twitter account is Chad Aaron, Aaron, Marlow, Marlow. Chad, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Tom. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. I got this press release from the ACLU about privacy and this campaign that you guys are doing. The campaign hashtag is hashtag takectrl, as in control, about privacy. Tell me what you've learned about this.
Well, it's an interesting issue, Tom. Today there's kind of a narrative in our country that, we are so politically divided that there are literally no issues, no matter how important to Americans, that we can all come together and work upon. And what we've discovered is that is actually not true for at least one issue, and that issue is privacy. And more importantly, the concept of empowering individual Americans to take control of their personal privacy. And so, what's been going on today around the country, and it's actually literally happening right now as we speak, from Hawaii to North Carolina, from Alaska to Alabama, from New Hampshire to New York to New Mexico, all these various states are getting up all at the same time, a bipartisan coalition, and announcing privacy bills that are intended to shore up Americans' privacy protections. And it's a pretty dramatic statement, particularly in light of the idea. I think the reason the states are moving is because, we look to Congress and we say, what is Congress doing to act to protect Americans' privacy? And the answer is unfortunately largely nothing. And so I think the states are saying, okay, if Congress won't act, we're not going to sit on our hands anymore. We're going to move, and we're going to act to protect the privacy of our constituents.
Right. I mean, we've heard these stories like Megan Donahue's story, who had to quit her college football team hockey team. Right. Thank you, because she didn't want to give her coaches her social media passwords, or Blake Robbins, who he borrowed a computer from school and took it home or she, I don't know if Blake is a male or female.
It's a boy, yeah.
Yeah, and the people at the school remotely turned on the webcam and watched him while he got undressed. But there's other technologies. I mean, and the list here, let me just quickly go through this if I may. Student information systems privacy, one-to-one device privacy, which means that people can't do what I just described happened to Blake Robbins. Student personal technology on campus, student social media privacy, employee social media privacy. So me as an employer, I can't demand the passwords of my employees' social media accounts, things like that, or snoop on them that way. State electronic communications privacy. One of the most important, I thought, was the cell site simulators. We have 18 of these here in Washington, D.C. I know that there's one over near the White House, because I can tell when my cell phone has jumped to it. And I understand, grabbing every cell phone around the White House so that you can see if somebody's going, hey, it's time to, light the fuse or something like that. But these stingrays are all over the country, and people have no idea that there's a man in the middle with their cell phone. And then the automatic license plate readers. You want to talk about any of those things?
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe the easiest to talk about them is in they're kind of four larger buckets, and the states are moving on, different states are moving on different ones. Minnesota has 6 bills up, so they're moving on almost every one. But yeah, so they fall into 4 categories. So the first is what we call student data privacy, and that is kind of an acknowledgement that although to the government and even more so corporations, all of our data has a certain commercial value. They can gather information on us, they can package it, they can advertise to us, they can sell our information to other people, but no information is more valuable than that of our children, because you can go and get a commercial dossier on them and it's good for 60, 70 years. And what some of the companies have been doing is they've been fostering relationships with schools, either to store their data or provide them personal electronic devices, and they use that as a route in which to gather information about our kids and use it with very few restrictions on what they can do. And that can be everything from, a student's grades to whether they receive free lunch, to whether they've been subject to discipline, to whether they've sought guidance on personal issues. And so one of the areas that the states are moving in is on the issue of student privacy.
So it's the old saw that when a technology company offers you something for free, the product is actually you.
That's correct. Yes, exactly. What do they say about no such thing as a free lunch? Yeah. That's exactly right. And, there are some benefits, incidentally, to giving a computer to a kid that are perfectly fine. For example, if, Google wants to give Chromebooks out to kids so that the kids will enjoy that particular device and will develop brand loyalty to it, there's nothing particularly wrong or devious about that. But it's if they, and I don't want to suggest that Google's doing this, but certainly some companies then will look to see what websites you're visiting, what topics you're emailing about, what pictures you're sending, and that's when they cross a line. Now, of course, if they want to be upfront about it, if they want to say, hey, can we have your permission to track what websites you visit to sell you products? If you want to say that's fine, if the parents and the children want to say that's fine, that's between you and the company. But a lot of times it doesn't work that way. It's done kind of through a big user agreement that no one ever reads, or it's not even made obvious to you at all. So
that's the first bucket.
That's the student privacy area. The other areas are, and you kind of pointed it out, there's employee data privacy, where an employee or someone applying for a job can't be forced to turn over their social media accounts. There's location tracking, which is the cell site simulators, where the best way to describe them, they're often referred to as Stingray devices. That's a brand name. It's kind of like the child's game of Marco Polo. The cell site simulator yells out Marco, and your phone has no choice but to yell back Polo. And in that word Polo, they're divulging where your cell phone is, certain information about your phone, metadata, potentially content on your phone, and there's not much you can do about it. And automatic license plate readers give the government and certain companies the ability to basically monitor everywhere you drive in your car and store that data indefinitely. And then the last is electronic content privacy, personal data privacy, and that deals with reading your emails. You may be surprised to know, Tom, that the federal laws governing your email privacy were written in the 1980s. And back then, if you wanted to read an email, you didn't just open it up on your computer. You had to download it onto your hard drive and read it. And so the federal law and the state laws generally have a rule that says if you have an email that's more than 180 days old, it's been abandoned, like unopened mail in your mailbox. And then they're allowed to look at it without a warrant or any other reason, simply because it's more than 180 days old, because of the way email used to work in the 1980s.
And Gmail, kind of by default, unless you delete email, it just kind of goes into your red folder, and you end up with years and years worth of emails sitting in your Gmail account. And if they're more than, what did you say, 180 days old?
180 days.
Then Google can read them. Can they sell them? Can they publish them?
Well, it's not that Google can read them. It's that the government can read them.
Oh, I see.
The government can go to Google and request those emails and say they're over 180 days old, they're abandoned, so I don't need a warrant. I can assure you that Google does not like turning over your emails to the government. They don't view it as a good customer relations strategy to be turning over your personal.
But do they do it anyway?
Well, they do it because they have to. The law requires them.
So the government right now is going to Google and saying, and not obviously it's not just Google. Microsoft has a big mail thing. Yahoo has a big mail thing. AOL, not to mention all the other companies. Xfinity, all the people get email through their TV, cable TV, whatever. So the government is going to these organizations and they're saying, we would like all of Chad Marlow or Thom Hartmann's emails that are more than 180 days old. And by the way, you don't have to tell him. You just have to give them to us because they've been abandoned. Is that correct?
Yeah, and oftentimes they can use devices that prohibit them from telling us as well, that actually, as a matter of law, say they're not allowed to advise us that they're turning over the information. What's interesting there, Tom, is there is a bill to reform that law in Congress right now that has over 300 sponsors.
Wow.
But the leadership won't let it move. And so what has happened, several states, most prominently California last year, passed its own version of ECPA reform called Cal-ECPA. And as part of what we're doing today, several states, including New York, Virginia, and New Mexico, are putting in their own bills.
That's great. Chad, hang on just a second, Chad.
The Thom Hartmann Program.
Chad, I'm very sorry. The tyranny of the clock caught us. But Chad Marlow with the ACLU, ACLU.org. Chad, thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Great talking.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.